Okay, I think we are live. I want to welcome you guys. We're going to talk about my personal calorie and macro breakdown and what I do to stay fit and healthy and strong at 54. Okay. Uh, if this is your first time joining me, I am Lydia Martinez Ebling, and I'm a certified fitness and nutrition specialist, certified hormone health coach, and I have worked with thousands of women now, helping them achieve significant body fat loss, inches loss, life regained. And my whole goal with everything that I do is to help every woman over 40, every woman, but really 40 and over, redefine how they approach health, fitness, and aging. And I'm doing that by just bringing you the right information, right? The truth, the facts, the myths, and things that I've learned over my almost 30 plus years in the industry. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So let's get into it. Are you guys ready? Let's talk about, well, actually, let me tell you how this came about, this particular topic, calories and macros. And I'll try to keep it kind of streamlined here. I'm trying to think. All right, so I did a post the other day. I shared a post and I said that calories will determine your weight loss and macros will determine how fit, tone, and firm you look, but the quality of your food will determine how you feel and how you age. So a couple of different things. Someone came on, this individual came on and said, you're all wrong. What you've been teaching for years is wrong. Calories doesn't determine weight loss. And he just like, and at first I'm like, this guy's a troller. But no, I realized he truly believes what he's saying, but he's lacking the accurate information, right? And the reason that he believes what he's saying, because I was looking at his page and he's gotten results from following a specific type of lifestyle. So I'm going to address that. Okay. Then I had someone else come on and say, Lydia, can you break down like what you do in a day? Like what I eat and everything. So that's what I'm going to do. All right. So that's what we'll talk about. But before I'm going to talk about like my personal macros and what I eat in a day and like what my lifestyle looks like. I think it's important for you to understand like some of the basics. Now, I'm going to just do a overview, right? So stick with me. I'm going to the basics of calories and macros and what it means to like the law of thermodynamics and method versus cause. I'm going to do snippets of this, but this is not this topic here. There's so many ways that I can go. And I could talk for hours just on the calorie and macro and quality aspect. I have a free guide that I put together called Hormone Reset 101. It's a free 14-day guide with a little mini course and like video modules and emails. And I expand more on what I'm going to talk about here today. And it's completely free. So you can check the link in the comments and go download it. And so you can understand a lot more what I'm talking about, because I can only get into so much in a session, right? Because you don't want to be on here with me for hours, I'm assuming. I mean, I would love to, but now I'm going to brunch today. All right. All right. So let's talk about this. First, let's talk about like what's a calorie, okay? And breaking some things down, like what's a macro and the difference between method versus cause, right? So which we talk about first? Okay. All right. So let's talk about a calorie. A calorie is simply a unit of energy. See, food is just fuel. Okay. And it's important for me to talk about this because you'll hear people, that's good food, that's bad food. And we don't prescribe to the whole idea good or bad, right or wrong, pass or fail, right? So food is just fuel. Now, I'm saying that when it comes to calories, what does that mean when I say food is just fuel? Are there foods that are nutrient dense? Yes. Are there foods that are calorically dense? Yes. Are there foods that are nutrient void? Yes. And are there foods out there that are manufactured to make your body think it's actually food? Yes. Why is that important? Because your body doesn't operate in emotion of, oh, that's a good food or that's a bad food. It operates in looking at the calorie and the unit of energy that it's going to get, but then also breaking it down in for the bodily processes. Is it like a protein? Is it a fat? Is it carbohydrate? Does it have minerals? Does it have micronutrients in it? Or is it amino acids? Like doing it, it breaks everything down that way. Okay. So it simply takes in the calories that you give it and tries to direct that traffic. Okay. And so calories are important, but they're not as important as the breakdown of the calorie. Okay. So a calorie is simply a unit of energy, right? That food is a unit of energy. The macronutrients is what makes up that unit of energy: the protein, the fat, the carbohydrates. Okay. Macronutrients, protein. Protein is like your grass-fed meats. It's your wild-caught fish. It's your organic poultries, right? Then you can get some plant proteins. But with plant protein, there's things that are going to be missing, right? Because you're not getting a complete uh, break up or make up of the amino acids that you need, right, in one plant. So you would have to eat several different plants to make up a full amino acid profile that you need. But not only that, when it comes, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't be a vegetarian, I'm just trying to break it down for you. But you don't get things like the B12 or uh, the certain types of fats that you get from like a grass-fed beef in your plants. And your B vitamins are super duper important. Okay. So your macronutrients, your protein, your fat, your carbohydrates. What are your fats? Talked about protein. Your fats are your good fats, because there's all different types of fats. I'm just going to talk about good fats. I'm talking about your avocado. It's your omega-3s, right? It's your coconut oils, your some MCT oils. Those type of fats are really good for you. And there's others, but let's just talk about that. And then your carbohydrates. Your carbohydrates are going to be anywhere from a piece of candy to a baked good to fruit to vegetables, right? There's a wide range, but we just want to focus on like quality potatoes, root vegetables, legumes. These are all like carbohydrates, right? So those macronutrients are what actually make up a calorie, that unit of energy. And each one of those macronutrients have a different unit of calorie. For example, every 1 gram of protein, you get 4 calories. For every 1 gram of carbohydrate, you get 4 calories. For every 1 gram of fat, you get 9 calories. And you're like, whoa, this is a lot. And I'm not going to keep going in depth on that, but I want you to understand those basics. So it's the macronutrient profile in which you take in is more important than the actual amount of calories that you consume. But there's a caveat to that. And I'm going to talk about this method versus cause. All right. So a caveat or a denote, however you want to put it. Okay. Those macronutrients, the ratios in which you consume them is what's most important. And for women and everyone, and just in general, everyone is bio individual. Okay. I used to teach, and my husband Rye used to teach, like only low glycemic and eat quality food. And then we still want you to eat quality food and choices, but nothing becomes dynamic until you become really specific. And specific is your macronutrient breakdown. People say, Leah, I want arms like yours, or how do you stay fit at 54? I'm in better shape now than when I was in my 20s. And I've always been kind of fit. I haven't always been well, but I've always been kind of fit. But at 54, I'm stronger and healthier than I've ever been. And it's because I went from the shift of just eating quality to dialing it in and doing my macros. And the macros of specific for my goal, my age, my activity level, what I was looking to specifically achieve. And that means that it's a certain amount of ratio of protein, certain amount of ratio of carbohydrate that I take in, and there's a certain ratio of fat that I take in. That's dialing it in. And the thing is, when you're dialing it in, like some of the people say, well, if it fits in your macros, it works, and it can, right? You can do where 80% of your choices are quality and 20%, let's just call it like the fun stuff, and you could still get really good results, and have a sculpted physique, eating ice cream, eating pizza, eating brownies or whatever, because you do it in your ratio, your macro ratio breakdown. Does that make sense? Right? Let me know if that makes sense. You can comment in the comments. But doesn't mean that you're going to be completely healthy on a cellular level. Okay. Now let's go back to the calorie thing. All right. So calories are important, but they're not as important as macros. They are and they aren't. Okay. Because people are like, say, well, just eat quality. Well, here's the thing. Your body operates in a certain way, meaning that when you wake up, there's a baseline. There's a baseline of calories, energy that you burn each day just existing. Then let's add in if you're doing strength training, or if you're doing, maybe you're a runner, or you're doing cardio, or you're just very, very active. You have your baseline for your of calories burned that for your body just to exist, and then you add all those extras on. That's your caloric expenditure for the day. Okay, so let's say, example, my maintenance, like what I expend in a day is roughly 1,800 calories. That's what I'm going to burn just to look the way that I do right now. And if I'm just focusing on quality and not focusing on macros, well, I could be eating 2,500 calories and not know it, of quality lean protein, good carbohydrates, and good fat. But if I'm only burning 1,800 calories a day and I'm consuming 2,500 calories of quality, I'm going to gain weight. Get it? So that's where calories are still important. But if we want to dial in, we want to have the ratio of macronutrients. And even if my macronutrients are on point, if I'm still consuming more calories than my body's expending, I will gain weight. Now, on the latter part of that, or the other side of that, if I consume less than my body's burning, technically I should drop weight, not necessarily fat. So if I burn 1,800 calories a day and I start consuming 1,500 calories a day over a period of time, I will drop weight. Now, if I just focus on calories, part of that weight will be water weight, part of that weight will be muscle, and very little will be fat. So then I'll just be skinny fat. But if I dial in my macronutrients of making sure I'm having proper amount of protein for my age and weight, proper amount of fat and a proper amount of carbohydrates for my goal and energy expenditure, then I can ensure that I'm actually dropping fat and not just weight. But let's talk about this for a second. But what we found with many women is that they actually are going too long in that deficit, right? So when we do that, when that happens, it's called metabolic adaptation, where your body will actually slow down the rate at which you expend that energy, that fuel, those calories. And Some women, a lot of them, when they work with us, we increase their calories. Say they're like, Lydia, I don't know, I've been eating X amount of calories for this long and the weight's not budging. And they have to trust us, and we increase their calories, and then the weight starts dropping off. The fat actually starts dropping off. Does that make sense? Are you following me here? So there's a lot to that whole calories in versus calories out, and then the macronutrients. And a lot of times people want to teach you a method. They think it's the method that helps them lose the weight. And that's not the cause. And what do I mean by the method? They think it's keto or it's Atkins or it's Whole30 or it's eating low glycemic. And you're like, well, no, Lydia, I got results. Yeah, and I'm sure you did. See, because by default, you cleaned up your act. People, it's so funny, especially when the low carb, trend came about. And I heard somebody say the other day, let's make carbs great again. I was like, I'm in on that mission, right? Let's make carbs great again. But understanding, when that whole craze of, doing low carb, and they're like, well, I change, what they start doing is they're doing the lettuce wrap hamburgers. And they think it's the fact that they stopped eating that carbohydrate, that burger bun, that caused them to lose the weight. It's not necessarily low carb. What happened? Here's the thing. Let's look at this. A hamburger bun is roughly 250 to 300 calories. And it's kind of nutrient void. It has some protein. It's refined, highly palatable carbohydrates. And then a leaf lettuce is like 4 calories and full of water. See what I'm saying here? By default, what you did is that you removed 250 to 300 calories out of your diet. So you've lowered your caloric intake. Now, did you clean it up by doing lettuce? Yeah. But follow me. It's the amount of calories. So it's not necessarily the low carb method. It's by default, you reduced your caloric intake. Now, I'm not saying that keto doesn't work. I'm not saying that Atkins doesn't work or Whole30 and everything. Honestly, I like to use those type of methods. They're a method, okay? I like to use those type of methods as protocols, right? Because there's a lot of studies out there, especially when it comes to women, or I shouldn't say a lot, but they're now finding proof for women. And as we mature, as we get into our 40s and older, and we start going through hormonal decline, that keto is not good for us, not for a long period of time. You need that fat, but you need more protein than anything. Protein is critical, right? Protein is going to help with hair, bones, skin, muscle growth, your brain. Fat's going to help with your hormone production. And then the amount and type of carbohydrates you take in helps with brain function, helps with energy, and actually helps direct protein and fat in order for your body to produce the right actions and cellular functions in your body. See, they're all really important. And that's a whole nother topic I could talk about as well. All right. So you taking all that information, going back to the method versus cause, people always think it's the method, and the cause is the calories in which you take in and the ratio of the macronutrients that you take in, and then the quality of the food that you're taking in. All those different programs and methods are good for a period of time, but where you start is not where you stay. And if you truly want to sculpt your physique as you mature, and you want something that's really bio individual, because everyone is different, then you want to focus on your macronutrients, your calories, and quality. Okay. And that's what I do. That we've made that shift. Like I said, because here's the thing: used to teach low glycemic, and low glycemic is still great, but there's a lot of holes that we can poke into that. And I'm not going to get into that session. I'll do another one on low glycemic versus macros. But here's the thing, like if you're eating keto or if you're eating Whole30 or you're just eating clean, what do you do when you plateau? Do you eat more keto? Do you eat cleaner? I mean, how can you eat cleaner? If you're eating as clean can be, how can you eat cleaner? See, but with macros and ratios, you can always measure, monitor, and adjust. I want to drop more fat. I want to increase my muscle. I want to maintain. I want to make sense. So there's always those numbers you can always adjust. All right. So I could keep going, but I just wanted to give you kind of that little basics there. Okay. You can comment in the comment with questions and I'll answer them. Remember, you can go to the link in the description for my hormone reset 101 guide because I'm breaking it out a lot more. So I'm just giving you the basics. But you're like, well, Lydia, I tried macros and they didn't work. And okay, there's different reasons why things might not be working. Majority of the time, it's because someone didn't follow things consistently, right? For a period of time for your body to change. It takes a 90-day cycle for your body of doing things consistently for your body to change on a cellular level, okay? At least 90 days. But when macros or what you're doing is not working for you, well, it's called what I call the cycle. You're either dealing with inflammation, you're dealing with gut disruption, you're dealing with liver dysfunction, meaning then you have hormonal imbalance. And that means that you're in the weight gain, weight stall, frustration cycle. And either your calories are off, your macronutrients are off. And when I say calories are off, you're probably not eating enough. Your macros are off as far as the ratios and what you need. And then the cycle that I just talked about. Those are 3 reasons. I've been doing this for a long time, mainly when I see women and they're not getting the results that they're looking to achieve. And they're in that frustrating cycle that makes them sad. Get it? All right. So go to my Hormone Reset 101 guide. Get the mini course because I talk about the cycle. I talk about hormone health hierarchy and how we break it down. Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. We have community videos, all the things, and you ask whatever questions and I will answer them. All right, so but now let's talk about my macros and my calories, okay? And it's really important. I'm going to share this with you. Doesn't mean that's what you should be doing, okay? But in my guide, free guide that I talk about in mini course, I talk about the first thing that you need to focus on. First thing that you want to focus on is getting the proper amount of protein in, all right? But let me rewind here for a second because you're like, well, how many calories should I be doing? How many calories do you do? What should my macro ratio look like? Well, first of all, you got to find out how many calories you're actually consuming in a day. And not only that, find out what is the ratio. So what I'm going to suggest that you do is that you track for 7 days, take the judgmental, I call them the judgmental oculars off, take them off, throw them out, meaning don't judge your food, just track it, okay? Track everything that you eat. You could do it in a Lose It app, whatever type of, I use the Lose It app, but whatever type of food app you have, and just make sure whatever food tracking app you have or logging system, that it'll tell you your macros as far as how much protein grams, how much fat grams, and how much carbohydrate grams, okay? Track for 7 days and then average it out so you can see what your caloric intake is, but then also you can see your macro breakdown. Like on average, you're getting 50 to 60 or 80 or 100 grams of protein. On average, you're getting 30 grams, 50 grams of fat. On average, you might be getting 300 grams of carbohydrates, which is everything I just shared with you is not a good ratio. All right, just so you know. But get that information first, and then you have something to work with. You got to figure out what you're doing first before you can make any adjustments. Too many people say, okay, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to get in shape, I'm going to get fit, and they have no baseline of where they even are, and they just start doing things, and then they get frustrated because they feel like they're not getting results, but they didn't even know where they are. They don't even know if they're getting results because they didn't know what their baseline start was. All right. So what do I do? right, so I weigh roughly 124 pounds, okay? My body fat percentage ranges from 15 to 17%, okay? I'm just telling you that. So I've really focused, and I want you, this is another topic I could talk about. I don't want you to really focus on my number or the number on the scale, but I needed to know my weight. Why do I need to know my weight? Because so I can determine my protein intake. And I talk about that in my free guide on how you do it. Okay. But also rough guesstimate or estimate mathematical equation. I'm going to times that by 15, and it kind of will give me my maintenance calories. Okay. My maintenance is roughly over 1,800 calories. My deficit, meaning like when I really want to dial in and focus on dropping body fat, is 1634. I can tell you that's what it is right now. Exactly. 1634 calories. But what's more important is my ratio of protein, fat, and carbohydrates. My goal is to get 1-to-1 protein. What do I mean? Just a basic goal. I have the numbers based in my Hormone Reset 101 guide, but I try to get at least 124 grams of protein in. I do anywhere from 120 to 136 grams of protein a day. Okay. Then my carbohydrates are ranging from 100. And when I say carbohydrates, I'm talking about my potatoes, my rice, my gluten-free pasta, my beans, legumes, things like that, broccoli, cruciferous vegetables. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. My fruits, bananas, those are all the type of carbohydrates that I'm talking about, is anywhere from minimum 100 grams a day to upwards of 150, sometimes 180. Right now, I've been ranging and trying to keeping them like 1-to-1 of my protein. So really what I've been doing about 124 to 135 grams of protein, and the rest is all fat. My fat can range from anywhere from 55 to upwards of 75 grams of fat. That's my personal ratio, which I play with. I'm not 100% exact. The biggest thing that I'm diligent on and focus on is making sure that I get my protein in, and that you should too. Your protein and fat are really critical when it comes to your hormone production and making sure, far as that you maintain your bone density, that you maintain your muscle mass, and you continue to try to increase your muscle mass. Because at our age, it is detrimental to our health and how we function, right? Because as we start to go through hormonal decline, what ends up happening is that hormonal decline of estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone, we start to go into a catabolic state. What does that mean? It means that we start breaking down muscle. And when we start breaking down muscle, that means that our bones start to get weaker as well. All right, so that's the little right there. It's so important. So that's kind of like my breakdown. Now, what does it look like? Okay. What does that look like for a day for me? And then, I know people are asking, like, what's your strength training look like? That I could do another conversation on that. But I only strict train 3 days a week. But when I strength train, I strength train. I train legs twice a week, and I do upper body once a week, and I do the abs on my training days. I train Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I always make sure that I have a day in between for rest for the central nervous system. And this is something that we teach with our VIPs at our program. We have specifically designed workouts for women of our age and actually for any woman that wants to sculpt their physique, but it's really based on making sure that we sculpt our body for our age and increase our muscle mass and make sure that we are protecting our bone density. So that's when it comes to my activity. As far as strength training, I walk every day. I do anywhere from A slow day for me is 10,000 steps. Yeah. I'm like, I walk a lot because it helps break things up. Working from home, having a home office, it can get very monotonous. You can get stuck. So, like, I'm like every hour or so, I'm going outside and at least walking for 10 minutes. But we also have a walking pad because my desk actually will raise so I can work and walk at the same time. But I average anywhere from 15,000 to 17,000 steps a day. I walk a lot. Okay. So that's every day, even on strength training days. Now, my food. What does it look like? Well, first of all, I fast. And again, you're thinking, okay, how long do you fast? Been fasting for years. Get my hormone reset 101 guide. Like I said, it's completely free. I have a whole section in there about fasting and why it's important and how you get started. But we fast anywhere from 16 to 18 hours, 20 hours a day. Today, I'll probably only fast for 14 hours because we're going to brunch. But I break my fast. This is how I break my fast. Now let's talk about my food and then I'm going to wrap it up. My food. Okay. So I always break my fast. Well, I get up first thing in the morning and I do a full glass of water with at least a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, a little squirt of lemon. That's how I start my day. And then halfway through, I will my morning, a couple hours, then I'll have a creatine mixture that we will be releasing. And then about 1, 2 o'clock, I usually break my fast. And how do I break my fast? I break my fast. Lately, I've been on a kick of, I gotten the siete, guava flour. Is it guava flour? Is it guava? Cassava flour, tortillas, because I'm gluten intolerant. So I try to do everything as much as possible. I'm gluten light. I heard it the other day. We call it gluten light. I'm 90% gluten-free, but I'm at home. Everything's always gluten-free. But anyway, the tortillas, I love tortillas. So what I'll do is I'll do 1 siete gluten-free tortilla, 3 scrambled eggs with about 30 grams of avocado, fresh avocado. What does that look like visually? That looks like a quarter of a regular sized avocado. But we measure everything. We get a digital scale. You can get it right off of Amazon. Why do we weigh? People are like, oh, that's so anal and restrictive. No, because here's the thing. We weigh everything because I want to dial in. Remember, nothing becomes dynamic until it becomes really specific. But because we've measured for so long, I don't even think about it. So when I'm out, I can look at a piece of meat, a carbohydrate, and I can say, that looks like 40 grams, everything. So like I can go to a party and still dial in on my food. Even though I don't know the exact breakdown of each of the food, I can gauge it because I've been measuring for so long. Does that make sense? So that's something that's powerful there. So I can always kind of stay on track, whether I'm eating out at a restaurant or going to a party or a cookout or whatever. It doesn't matter. If I'm in the airport, doesn't matter. All right. So I break my fast. That's my meal. Another meal that I'll do is I'll do 3 eggs. I always do 3 eggs. I do the whole egg because the fat's good for your muscle. It's good for, you need that fat in order to produce the right type of hormones, but it's also good for your brain. It's filling. So I'll do 3 eggs. I'll do again about 30 grams, sometimes more, 40 grams of avocado. It's about a quarter of an avocado. And I will do my fresh salsa, or I'll do sliced tomatoes, cilantro, that, and then I'll do 1 to 2 slices of gluten-free bread. Oh, and I also love prunes. So after I eat my first meal, then I'll have about 100 grams of prunes, right? Because I just like them and they keep things moving along. You know what I mean? And then my second meal is, a few hours later, probably 3 hours later, is it will consist of a protein. So let's say my chicken size usually averages about 250 to 300 grams. I could do more than 300 grams to meet my actual protein intake, but honestly, sometimes it's hard for me to eat that much in one giving sitting of protein. Or it might be a steak, um, flank steak, flat iron steak, because or leaner, right? So we get leaner cuts because ribeye is the best, but it has a lot fat and protein. So, that's why we'll do leaner meats. And then my starch will look like 200 to 200 to 250, maybe even 300 of little red potatoes or baked potato or a cup of basmati rice. One of the things I love to do is I'll make basmati rice with lemon, and then I add fresh lime juice and fresh cilantro with garlic to it after it's done. But I also make cauliflower rice. So what I'll do is I'll do a cup of the basmati rice and then a cup of the cauliflower, mix it together, and you feel like you've got this big plate of rice, but half of it's cauliflower, and it's really filling. That's one of the things that I kind of my cheat thing that I do, because I love rice, but I don't need a ton of starchy carbohydrates, right? So that I'll do that. And then I do a ton of vegetables. So I'll do like a big salad. I'll do broccoli, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, and I season everything up. I use avocado oil. And depending on where my macros are, like how much carbohydrate do I need? How much protein do I need? How much fats do I still need? Then after that meal, that first meal or the second meal of the day, then I say, okay, do I want to do a shake? Do I want to do a bowl of Greek yogurt with berries and a banana and gluten-free granola? That's how I break it down. And really, it's really that simple. Now, what I love Greek yogurt. And how much Greek yogurt do I do? We do the 0%, and we also do the 2%, and we mix it up. I'll do depending, and it's all dependent on how many protein grams I have left to reach, right? But on average, it'll be anywhere from 120 grams to 170 grams of 0 and 120 to 170 grams of 2%. Then I add 3 to 4 slices of strawberries, a handful of blueberries, a half a sliced banana, and 30 grams of gluten-free granola. Now, the gluten-free granola, there's a couple different ones that we use right now that's been really good, is the Elizabeth. I think it's called Elizabeth brand, and that's really good. But that's kind of like what I eat. When it comes to the shake, it's probably about 40 grams of a shake minimum. And I'll do a couple mixed berries with a half a frozen banana. So good. Yummo. Yeah, and that's pretty much how I reach my day. And then my kick has been lately, I finish off my day with some dark chocolate. And I think Tony's. It's real chunky. And that dark chocolate can range from 10 grams up to 20 grams. It depends on how much I have left in my caloric intake and in my macros in order to eat that chocolate. But Tony's has dark chocolate with sea salt and almonds. Yummo. Really, but that's how I reach my day. And I know it kind of sounds boring, but it's actually really good. In my hormone, I know I keep talking about it, but in my Hormone Reset 101 guide, guys, I put a ton of stuff in there. And one of the days, because it's a 14-day guide, some of the days have short video modules, has emails for each one. And then we have our free community. But I think it's like on day 10, I actually break down all my supplements, all my activity, and all my food based on calories and meals and things. So everything that I just talked about, you can actually see it, and there's a chart there for you. So I share my day. Now, with all of that being said, understand I share that with you. Everything should be bio individual. What's your age? What's your activity level? And what are you looking to achieve? Because my numbers are not going to be the same for you. But not only that, my likes and dislikes are not the same. I love food, but I'm very quirky at the same time. And I love to cook, right? I don't mind cooking. And I'm not a, I, I'm not a chef, but I know how to cook and I know how to adjust recipes really easily. And for some people, they don't know how to cook. They don't like to cook. Some of you shouldn't be cooking, right? But it doesn't matter when you're doing macros. You can do it with a meal service program. I mean, there's so many different things, but it's all individualized, right? But it's not hard, right? You can get her done. Trust me, you can get the results that you want. And you can also you can do it by designing how you want your lifestyle to look. Does that make sense? So everything is individualized. The devil's always in the details, right? Get the guide. That's a great baseline. We could start there. Comment in the comments as far as your questions, and I will do more lives actually answering your questions based on this whole session here. Don't forget to hit subscribe, comment, share. My whole goal, like I said, is to bring you the right information, right, for women over 40 to help them redefine how they approach health, fitness, and aging. And that means I'm going to do that by providing you the right tools, the resources, informations, the facts, the tips, all the things. But let's do it together, right? Let's get more women. Let's get this information out to more women. And the only way that we can do that is if you like, share, and comment. All right. So there you have it. That's my day. That's what I do. Love you guys. And I'll see you on the next session. Don't forget Hormone Reset Guide. Go in the description and get it. Talk to you guys later.